Italy, it's hard to argue with Prosecco.
Yeah, no, it is the staple.
Especially the producer that we know, he's a personal friend. He's taken over the family business, and he's making some really, really cool Prosecco. So we're excited. We're gonna taste the wine and try it out and go from there. Are we live? Should I stop drinking bubbles?
No, it's,
I got mine right here. Yeah. My bubbles are right here too.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh yeah. All right, here we go. Some podcast.
Cheers. What are we at?
Episode 36, 5 or 6. I gotta organize it.
37?
I think the last one we did was 35 with the what's her name? Melissa.
Yeah. Yeah, we just call it 36.
Yeah. Well, 36.
So
get any number, we get a ruminal number.
Call it 36, and we'll go from there.
There it is.
So we're talking Italian today.
Cut. We gotta need one of those director's cut. 36.
Talking Italian wines today, and we have an Italian wine importer here. We might our good friend Michael from earlier in this season. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
See you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What? Tell us what you brought with you.
Oh, right.
Shameless plug right now.
Really out of the gate?
Right out the gate.
Right into it.
All right. Well, so shameless plug. I guess it's always good to have reinforcement, right? You start at the beginning and you finish with the end after we beat you up a little bit with some great conversation. But brought Davide Fregonese, Barolo producer, Piedmont, Italy is my region. If you recall from I think it was episode 10. It's been that long.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Mm-hmm. I like this. Should I come back every 20 episodes?
Yeah, you
just
should.
Enough for them to forget. Right.
Season finales.
Right.
Or you guys going on writer's strike too?
Oh no, we won't go.
Davide Fregonese, producer out of Barolo. Barolo, famous region in Piedmont, part of the Longa, Barolo, and Barbaresco. It's the kind of claim to fame of the modern age of the Piedmontese region right now. The grape is Nebbiolo, the famous grape of the area. It's a beautiful kind of chameleon grape. It's got tannin, it's got acid, but it is light in color. It's got great aromatics. It's something with some air. It can open up. It can be easy to drink, but it also has great structure to pair with anything from your risotto to your ragu to your pastas to your pork to your red meats and so forth. And actually, this particular one is kind of an interesting one where it's almost a little softer to where it pairs with fish. And if you're a wine drinker and you're familiar with the Piedmontese region, saying like a Barolo pairs with fish is almost like you've been excommunicated from the Vatican. You're done.
He got communicated.
Did you?
No.
Are we going to find that on YouTube later? That's going to be the second half hour of this program.
No.
But anyways, yeah, it's a super cool region. It's a really diverse grape. A lot of history. Get yourself a glass here.
Just with your red wine, some chocolate.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
I'll come in and grab some wine.
He did that
shameless
last year.
plug we'll hear is Davide Fregonese. Serralunga d'Alba is the town he's part of. It's on the east side of Barolo, known for bigger, more structured style wines. So it's easy, it's great to drink, it's perfect for a day like we're having right now, nice and cold. And my shameless plug is super exciting since I was here last. We finally got our wine shop up and running. Oh. So we're also doing what we're calling Barolo Natale, Barolo Christmas. This particular producer, 40% off on our website. So www.oneonthehillusa.com, and if I dare say, maybe click that link in the description later when for anyone who's not watching live. The other 3,000 viewers who we know will be watching tomorrow.
On the YouTube channel.
On the YouTube channel. Yeah, and also that's good through December. So if you do happen to watch this in 2042, I'm sorry, the sale is over. But we're excited.
2024 too, right?
What?
2024 as well.
2024, yeah, exactly. I was going a little further in
2042,
horizon.
yeah. Right. That's a little ways
vintage.
It's well aged.
That's going to be
it's tasting great, and we're hoping it's all gone by then.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, super cool. We're excited about that here at the one on the hill in Porter, and wanted to bring talk Barolo and talk
17.
wine and share this with you guys.
Cool. Yeah, thank
So
you for
the
bringing this.
shop you're talking about,
Yeah.
you have like an actual tasting area, or is it just
No,
selling?
Yeah, we're
On
online,
sale?
online,
Online.
online e-commerce wine shop.
Okay.
Part of our little importer. So Fregonese, along with a handful of other producers, the wine I brought last time, the Barbera, Casino San Michele, also poured here at the wonderful Grape Nest with the Barbera. Say hi, wave. There we go. Yeah. Come say hello to Marlena. She's looking for some conversation tonight. Yeah, it's our online wine shop, and we're excited to get it launched among bringing all our wines. We understand that, especially places like Grape Nest does great with that. Your excellent wine, you're looking for $10, $12, $15 by the glass, but we on our wine shop, we go beyond those wines. We have some cool little fun stuff along with our wine club. So we're excited to have that launched, and check us out.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool. Mike.
Yeah.
So we're
Hard stop.
getting predominantly all the area of the Piedmont region. So
Yeah.
we're getting the Barolos, we're getting the Barberas,
Yeah.
Asti maybe.
Asti's there. Yeah, the great thing about Italy and France is, and we talk about this with our Italian partners, is, man, the Europeans don't know how to sell. And they're like, we don't want to tell you what the product is. We're going to name it something else, and you're going to have to go, spend 3 hours on Wikipedia to figure out what it is. They look at more the towns, and you have to know the town to know what grape is in it. Which is pretty crazy. And to give you an example, Barolo is part of the Longa, and I'll take a step back real quick. The Longa is a famous area. It's Barolo and Barbaresco. These are two towns that actually were medieval towns that actually fired arrows at each other. But as civilization calmed down and the kingdoms formed, they realized that these were great wine growing areas, and the towns around them kind of piggybacked on the namesakes to grow the same grape and the same style of wine. So, example, Barbaresco, which is a famous town on the east side of the Longa, is not just Barbaresco. You have wine that is from Nieve and Trezzo, two other towns that are right there too. Barolo itself is the town right in the middle of Barolo, but you have Canubi, La Mora, Novello, and then where Davide Fregonese is from, Serralunga d'Alba too. So a lot of these communes kind of propped up and kind of went under one banner. But that's not telling you exactly what the grape is. And it gets even crazier where diving into Fregonese now is a Barolo. And this particular one is 100% Nebbiolo. But you also have in Barolo, you have Arnez, you have Barbera, you have Dolcetto, you have actually, it's almost sacrilege at this point, but Pinot Noir, some Merlot, some Cabernet, some Chardonnay, all being grown and being used for various different things. And you tend to find those being labeled varietally with the sub-appellation of Barolo. So it's a little crazy in terms of what you see going on, and really it's you see what they do is they name it by town, and then you have to kind of know what that grape is in that area.
Yeah.
And you see it. You see it all over. It's crazy. You go even to the north of Piedmont, and you get into Game, Gattinara, Boca, and these are essentially towns like Barolo, and you have to know what grapes they grow there. Pop quiz later. It's Nebbiolo.
So there is no Barolo grape.
There is no Barolo grape.
Because I've had some outstanding Barolos before.
Sure.
But not knowing that it wasn't a Barolo. I mean, I this is back when when I was uneducated. Well, at least about Italian wines, and I thought, shit, that Barolo's fucking. It's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
But I was probably drinking a Nebbiolo or something like that.
I mean, you look at it too, and it's like great. It's great marketing too, because we all know today Burgundy is Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. But why would the Duchy of Burgundy name wine Pinot Noir? You just called it Burgundy and collected all the taxes on it. So that's how they became one of the richest duchies in the French Empire. So they go back to their old medieval ways of just wanting to be all about their place. They promote their town, not so much for us, where we kind of went back into the saying of, oh, let's promote the varietal. And so it's kind of that new world versus old world conversation that, hey, there's the fun two terms, new world versus old world. It's interesting to, at this point, you see Barolo on the label, 100% Nebbiolo.
So that you're talking medieval times. Is that post King de Medici? When he is
so the Medici family. Medici family. You've just been in Italy, haven't you?
Because he's the one actually who declared. I mean, they're the first appellations, like you had educated us last time.
I'm gonna start interviewing you. What museums did you go see?
Vatican, and just your low,
the Vatican.
normal ones.
The small ones.
The Vatican's museum.
The center of the universe. All right, fantastic.
I went to the Museum of Wine. In every single town I went to.
They all have them, right?
They all have them.
They all have a museum.
They all have a museum.
They all have like
it's called the winery.
The creepy wax figure that's standing there, like looks like he's churning butter, but he's standing over an oak barrel. They all have them. I don't know why. It's really weird. No? All right.
I didn't see it.
Go through your photos.
Let's go back there. But,
go through a video.
Yeah, the
Easter
Medici.
egg.
So it's interesting. The Medici family was more prominent within the Tuscan region. They were centered in Florence. I believe they actually had some outposts over in Venice too. Much more on the financial side, but with the finances come the widespread of the funding of these operations, the marketing of these operations, the logistics of spreading them. It's interesting that the Kingdom of Piedmont, which would have been the Northwest Kingdom in Italy, they're all little teeny kingdoms. You had Florence, you had Venice, you had Rome, you had Sicily, you had actually technically Sicily controlled the latter half. So what is today Puglia and Calabria was part of the Kingdom of Sicily, but they all kind of were doing their separate thing. And the interesting thing about Piedmont is the Kingdom of Piedmont, and I brought up the Duchy of Burgundy, they had a really major connection socially, politically, and economically. So to this day, if you visit Dijon or Lyon, the two major cities in Burgundy, or you go to Turin or Alba or Asti, the major cities within Piedmont, culturally there's a lot of similarities, and it somehow reflects in their wine. You try Nebbiolo, you try Pinot Noir, it's very, very similar. The major difference is the tannin structure and the acid you get on Barolo, or Nebbiolo, I should say, the finish. But a lot of people will look at this wine and go, what is this from? Gev Chambertin? Is this from Volnay? And then you take a sip and your enamel comes ripping off because it's just a completely different finish. But it's interesting to see how those two have a lot of similarities, a lot of connections. And so it's interesting where you talk Medici, and they were kind of unifying major Italy proper, the peninsula itself. Piedmont, being where it was more under the influence of the Swiss bankers, and culturally had a lot of issue with connections with the French and with the Duchy of Burgundy. And to this day, it's really fascinating to talk. Especially my partners or my friends who live there, they don't fully want to admit Nice is French. They actually still believe it should be part of Italy and the Kingdom of Piedmont. So there you go, going down cultural heritage. But it's a nice little compare and contrast of how all those roots came. And you're right, it's about 1200, 1300 in that time period.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice is just that close. Just Monte Carlo, Nice, that little area right there, and then you're back in Italy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you buy your wine in Piedmont, you lose all your money in gambling in
Monte Carlo,
Monte Carlo.
and then you go to Nice and drink at the bar.
And then you go drink at the bar.
Or sit on the beach.
And sit on the beach, yeah, exactly. It's a perfect triangle.
Not a bad life.
Oh, yeah, I got a good story about Nice. Oh, I tell you.
So what is the process of bringing this wine into the U.S.? Are you actively going to Italy?
Yes.
Okay.
So the process is really you're over there. You're trying to meet producers, find producers who are for the unsexy part of it is they want to sell their wine in the U.S. You want to buy their wine to sell in the U.S. That at the purely transactional level is the starter. But finding the right people for our image and what we want to portray. And our producers that we work with, we want them to be small, family-owned. We want them to be doing something that is extremely representative of their land, their terroir. And by that, I mean, you look at, let's say, Barolo, and as I mentioned at the beginning of all this, Barolo has all these little towns that are part of it. And just because they're little towns doesn't mean it's all the same. It's very, very different soil. And so if you have a producer that has a Barolo from all these different areas and it all tastes the same, you're kind of thinking there's a little unconventional, little insincerity there. So we want them to be doing the best expression of where they're from, showing the best wines they do, as well as we're all about sustainability, regenerative practices, classic method of how they produce wine. A lot of Italian wine and to be honest, French wine, Spanish wine in the 80s and 90s saw a more commercial production go into it, where they were looking for a higher yields, homogeneous flavor, and all that. And we're seeing actually in the last decade or so, a lot of the producers go back to their roots. And we say avant-garde or pushing the envelope, when really all they're doing is they're deciding to make wine how they made wine with Medici. And that's pretty much our MO. We look for these small guys to be best representatives of the land.
So speaking of that, all right, so all the Italian wines that we get over here in the States all contain sulfites. And I noticed that actually some of the wine there in Italy had sulfites as well.
Sure.
Although you find a lot without it.
Yeah.
And drinking, it seemed like I noticed a big difference when we drink, because we were there for a wedding. And
Yeah.
we drank a lot of red wine. And waking up the next morning seemed a little bit different. Just a little, not so, I don't know. It didn't feel so, that.
It felt different because you woke up that morning knowing you didn't have to go to work.
Oh yeah, maybe that was it.
You're in Italy on vacation.
That's
true. That could be it.
It's interesting where there are sulfites within a lot of their wines, but it's on a very, very minimal scale. And I've worked in distribution. I've done a lot of compare and contrasts. We've worked with other winemakers who have provided us graphs and showing the science behind the wine and how it's made. A lot of American wineries, and this is not a you're terrible or whatnot. This is a choice a lot of them make, is they decide to craft the wine scientifically in the lab rather than letting the grape kind of do its thing on vine and get it into bottle in the most kind of simplest, most organic way possible. They're trying to engineer a flavor versus letting the vine and the specific vintage tell its story. And so there are minimal sulfites, I should say, in a lot of wine across the world. It's a general practice, but what they're doing really for it is to kind of to stabilize it. They're looking to make sure the wine is not going to be volatile or kind of go to vinegar too quickly. But outside of that, you're getting the true expression of the wine.
Yeah.
And that's not saying without the fact that you see producers in Italy, France, Spain, Greece, a lot of the old world do similar things to what we're doing here. They're choosing to go commercial. They're choosing to go on a larger scale. They're using science to manipulate the crop, and you know what? That's fine. They're doing their own thing. For me though, it's this is more the wavelength that I'm interested in. The producers who are just they want to show the quality of their land, and they don't need all that fancy tech to make the wine.
Well, when you talk about the land, I noticed it when you're picking up on the tannins at the end there.
Yeah.
You get a lot of minerality as well. You taste like the region. I noticed that when we were in Tuscany, the region of the rock and the clay soils and that kind of mix of just the whole the terroir in the area. You could taste it, and it would differ from different areas. You go to Rezo, and the wine would have a little bit different flavor as when it comes to minerality.
Yeah.
So the subtle differences, those things you could pick up on when you're in Italy from town to town.
It's totally true, and you can do that to an extent here as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can, but what I see a lot of people do here in the United States is a lot of winemaker intervention. They use a lot of oak. They're playing in the lab, and it kind of is masking exactly what you're talking about, where a lot of the producers in Italy, Tuscany specifically, my area in Piedmont, some other great areas, Sicily's on fire, but these guys are looking at how they made wine in the Roman era, and oak barrels didn't exist there.
Terracotta.
They're making in terracotta amphora, and so their belief is you don't need those to impart flavors. You need those vessels for oxidation. You need those vessels to kind of ferment and age. And so they want them to be neutral, and then that allows that terroir, that expression to come out. And it's true, it's crazy. You see the difference in all those little villages in Tuscany, all the little villages in Piedmont, how even though they may be growing the same grape, it's slightly different. It's unique, and it's pretty cool. And you like the wine in this village, well, you may not like the wine in the village next to it, or maybe you like it more, or maybe they have better ragu. Who knows? But
Hey.
It's part of the fun. It's part of the exploration, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's not like a beer, right? Like if you crack a Heineken, you expect it to taste exactly the same every single time, whether you're in Amsterdam or you're sitting here at Point Richmond.
Right.
But it's the fun part about wine, of just how each area is very expressive.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I had a Pilsner Urquell in Hungary, and it tasted a lot different than the Pilsner Urquell I had here.
Yeah. So the age-old
IPA, piss and leaves.
Statement of yes, I've drank Guinness in Dublin, and it does taste better.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Well, actually, why we're going to diverge from the grape nest to the hop nest, and you look at beer, and to that point, I know I'm boiling it down to simplicity there, but water source plays a major key.
Oh yeah.
And so that's extremely important to understanding how beer can derive its flavor, its purity. But you look at beer a lot of times where it's the hops are grown in a certain area, the barley's grown in a certain area, and it's designed to be homogeneous in flavor profile. Where you look at wine, where I'll put it this way, a big one is like out of Washington, they do a lot of hops, Cascade hops, for example. Yep. You see Cascade in a lot of IPAs across the board, and so no matter what IPA, whether you call it a West Coast IPA or an East Coast IPA or a daytime drinking IPA or whatever it is, and they use Cascade, that Cascade hops is coming from Washington. Where here in Nebbiolo, you have a Nebbiolo from Barolo, you have a Nebbiolo from Barbaresco, you have a Nebbiolo from Alta Piemonte, you have a Nebbiolo from right here in Mendocino County, which they make some tremendous Italian varietals. Okay. It's going to be distinctly different because of where it's being grown in the region. So it's very much what I love about wine is it's a sense of place. Where beer, you have a little bit of that hybrid, but then there's those pieces that are known entity that are kind of flown in to fit the puzzle together, so to speak.
So where's that Nebbiolo right here? What winery is it?
Oh yeah, so the Nebbiolo that I love, that I think is doing a great job. Here's my shameless plug number 2.
There we go. Take note.
Take note.
There's a lot of great.
Every time it gets seen, he gets a nickel.
Right, exactly. The royalties roll in.
You're an influencer.
So for podcast number, let's see if I'm doing the math right, 52. I'll be rolling up in my Bentley. Sorry, Bentley model. Amazon, $5.99. Idlewild Wines in Healdsburg, up in Sonoma County, where I live. They have some property they own up in Mendocino. They're doing a phenomenal job. Their Nebbiolo is super, super good. Them, along with another one of my favorites called Gironata out of Paso Robles. I'm talking to you, Brian. I saw you a couple weeks ago, so how's it going? If you ever see this, I'm not going to set you late. Gironata out of Paso, super amazing producer. him and his wife kind of do the farming / winemaking, and they've been kind of doing all over the Nebbiolo, Barbera, Aglianico from the south. Super, super cool wines. So those are two of my favorites, and kind of straddle California from central and north. If you want to go further south, Ramona Valley is doing some great stuff with Tuscan. Sangiovese, they're making some really super cool wines. So if there's, and you know what, I'll throw a shout out there too. Chipperosa is one of my favorite producers out of Ramona Valley. So there you go. If you're looking to get your California Italian kick, you want Idlewild in Northern California, Gironata in Central California, and Chipperosa down in Southern California can give you a great expression of what American producers are doing with these classic Italian grapes.
All right.
Time to take a road trip.
Road trip.
Yeah.
I'm going to Central Coast here in a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I don't know what kind of, you got a van in the back, because I was actually just looking online for a completely different reason, and that you buy a used Sprinter van and it's still like $30,000. So
Oh yeah, really.
Yeah,
Sprinter vans are super.
Sprinter, or
You got to get that creeper van,
Yeah,
The-
like,
The creeper van.
Yeah, it's
The Jeepers Creepers
all
van.
panels, no windows.
yeah, exactly.
For the 150.
Yeah, exactly. Wood paneling, really. Carburetor optional. Yeah, I was looking at Ford Escapes because my business partner in Italy had this brilliant idea that he wants to buy a car to have for when he comes out here once a year. And I go, okay, cool, that's great. You look at a rental car for 2 weeks, about $1,000. And he's scared at the number. I'm like, all right, cool. So you buy a 2012 Ford Escape with 120,000 miles on it. That's $13,000. Next, you have to do insurance. You have to do title and registration. You have to have one of us co-sign because you don't have American citizenship. And then, where am I on 4? What garage are you going to put it in? Because you don't want to put it in long-term parking because that's going to exceed $1,000.
Keep it in your house.
Right.
You see my garage? If you want to come clean it out, I bought a Ford Escape.
Is there
I got one of those.
Is there a wine? No, there is. There's a bunch of corks. There is a lot of hazardous waste material, a lot of old printer stuff. So it doesn't work. So don't think it's a hand-me-down. I got to find a disposable place for it. But, and also, if anyone's looking to build a deck, I have about 4 planks of TimberTech left. So if you're building, a dollhouse, you're more than welcome to it. DM these guys.
Right. Come and get
4
it.
planks,
4 planks, yeah.
6-inch wide.
No, they're 4-inch wide.
I need some 6-inch.
4-inch, 12 feet. So I got 4 planks left.
I need 6-inch, otherwise.
They're gray too, so I don't know if that works with your color.
I need more of a brown for this one. Yeah. It's all right. Well, Michael, man, it's great to have you here.
Yeah.
I love it every time you come in and
the
pop in
wine?
here. The Robin Williams of wine distribution, Italian wine distribution, and keep going so fast I could barely keep up. with
Robin
They said the Robin Williams.
it. He just, his mind is moving so fast.
It
You know
is
what I
moving
mean?
really fast. I did have an espresso. I was tired.
There you go. Okay,
There
that's
you go.
what it's all about.
Yeah, I do wanna-
I was living the good Italian life.
I do want to ask.
I think this opened him up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do you
that's what
see
it is.
do you see like a difference in the wine making process between Italian and like California, for example, Napa? You know, Napa is very commercial. It's very
Even that cork is fancy.
yeah. It's like Napa is very commercial. So do you see like a difference between like how wine is made here versus in some of the regions in Italy?
Marketed, maybe.
Marketed, yeah.
That's a good question. I think it boils down to you look at wine and how it's made, and it's you have grapes on a vine, you harvest it, you throw it in with yeast and ferment it, you age it in some sort of vessel, you bottle it, you release it. That process is universal.
Right.
And you see a lot of, and I think I'll put it down to saying this: you have a lot of small producers in Napa Valley who are looking at their production as boutique, as artisanal, making super incredible wines. Now I'll say here, and maybe I get a lot of thumbs down, but I'm not a Cabernet Sauvignon fan. I'm not really a Chardonnay fan. I'm not high on Napa, but with that said, there are producers that I will I think are doing a tremendous job, and I think are doing a great
Right.
thing. Another shameless plug, Trefethen out of Oakville District. If you're looking for more details, my partner in crime over there, Marlena, has sold the wine, and she knows as well how good it
She's
is.
over there. She's got bottles hanging. She got that true fat.
There you go. Dragon Tooth, one of the best blends out there for sure. But what it really comes down to is winemaker choice.
Right.
And soils. The land we have here, and varietals to that end. Nebbiolo is a different grape from Cabernet.
Right.
They have different flavor profiles, different aromatics, different tannin and acid structures. They grow in different soils. You look at the soil up in Napa. It's more on the clay side, where Nebbiolo tends to be a little bit more, and I know it's more clay side because I live in Santa Rosa and my house is on clay, and when it rains, I can't lock my front door. I'm not giving you my address. The interesting thing is it does really well. It produces an interesting flavor profile, but then Nebbiolo, especially in Barolo area, the soil over here tends to be a little bit more calcareous because it's an ancient riverbed as well as volcanic activity. You get a lot of volcanic soils. So those soils just play differently, and it gives you different aromatics, different characteristics in the grapes, and the grapes themselves already have unique characteristics. So I say the process is the same. The mindset is really where I think it differs a lot. There's love affair with new oak in America. They believe that imparts a quality flavor in the wine. I think that's debatable, but to that end, it's really down to just and what you're trying to do too. When you're trying to, as you mentioned the word commercial.
Right.
Commercial is when you're trying to make 50,000, 100, 500,000 cases of a wine. You're trying to maximize yields. You're trying to have a consistent flavor profile. And when you do all that, you still could make a quality wine, but you're also going to depart from the purest sense of artisanal boutique style winemaking. So that's an interest. That's where I'd say the big difference is. The thing is Napa is actually pretty small. In terms of the wine growing areas in California, I believe Napa, I'm ballparking it, its total production based off California overall production is about 5 to 7%. So even how famous they are, their actual total output is really small in the grand schemes of California. And also the interesting thing is you look at the Longa, which I mentioned at the beginning, which is Barolo and Barbaresco. I don't know if I mentioned it last time. My previous employer, who I will not name, makes wine here in California. Their total production is roughly 24 million bottles. There are somewhere around 420 producers in the Longa and Barolo and Barbaresco who total their total production at about 21 million bottles. So 400 producers in this region make 21 million, and one producer I used to work for makes 3 million more bottles than the entire region in 1 year. So you look at that and you say and they do a great job with their production. They make amazing wines. They're international and they're consistent and they're well renowned. But you're talking in different ways. So that when it comes to boutique, they have to approach making wine in a different level. Where these guys, when a producer, especially the guys I work with, Davide Fregonese, makes 9,000 bottles per year, he does a little bit more attention to that row he works with. He has a little bit more characteristic to the wines.
That blows me
Still
away.
sounds like a lot of
7%
bottles,
Napa Valley. But then
9,000.
I think about it. If you think about the square miles that Napa is, it's tiny compared to Santa Lucia, Highlands, other areas in the Central Valley, where they're just so much more bigger and expanded.
You look at it too. It's like most of the grapes we have acreage-wise is Central Valley. You have kind of the area south of south of Monterey that kind of skirts around
Paso.
Paso. Paso you can include there, but
Both
Central
sides
Coast,
of that
Fresno,
mountain there?
That area produces a lot of grapes.
Oh, yeah.
Quality is debatable, but they use it for blends, bigger production wines. You know, the term comes up a lot in our industry of making a wine that's non-offensive, and those wines are going to be non-offensive. They're very nondescript. There's not much to like about it. There's not much to hate about it. They're scientifically made. That's great. But then you get into the smaller regions. You know, you look at Napa, Sonoma, Mendocino. You really can dive into the smaller producers and really see the difference in terroir.
A lot to be said about a family-owned producing wine versus some of your larger, you know, conglomerate style,
Right.
The ones that what he
It's
said.
interesting when you look at these people are saying, hey, I want to make the best wine versus, hey, I have to balance my balance sheet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is that.
And,
Right.
You know, I'm all for free market, but sometimes free market is counterintuitive to putting out a quality product.
There are those that they have to have a bottom line, and they had to. But then there's those ones that are out there that make it that were, you know, God forbid. I mean, they have enough money, but they want to make a product that's tremendous, you know, and has their touch, you know, their kiss, their, you know, something that's their signature.
You know, and that's actually a good point. Like signature, like one of the things that I love about a wine, especially in a winemaker, is I mentioned before. I like winemakers who they look at it as their job is to get the grape from vine to bottle with minimal intervention. But there's something they're going to do in there that is going to have a characteristic that you will taste in the finished product. And I love that aspect. And the last guy I brought, Casino San Michele, does an excellent job at that, where you try his Barbera Superiore that I brought, or his regular Barbera Asti, or his Nebbiolo, or even his white wines. You get that sense that you know when you sniff and taste his wine, it's Marco making that wine. Or some of my other producers, when you sniff or taste Alberto Ogero, you know it's Alberto making that wine. And that translates to here too. You get producers all throughout California, Washington, Oregon, that even though their approach is boutique and minimalistic, they have that touch where you just smell it, you're like, oh, that is that person. And I love that. It's almost like, a painter signing his painting.
Right.
It's the winemaker really kind of putting his touch, and that's another layer of what's really cool about exploring wines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a few of them out there. And this guy Neve that used to make wines for Plump Jack, that was like, man, that he had a nice touch the way he would put his spin.
Yeah.
Autographing bottles.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, they do it.
Yeah, one of my first introductions to the wine industry was Jeff Runquist and the wines he was doing. He worked a lot with Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, Malbec, and the shop I worked at right out of college selling retail, we sold a lot of Jeff Runquist wines, and I got to try them all, and it's just kind of, you saw the difference. Like, Petit Syrah kind of has a bad rap, Zinfandel has a bad rap. He was sourcing his fruit from the same places that Amador and Lodi, like places our famous was in, that I wasn't really crazy on, but you try his wines, there was just that signature touch that was kind of, that's Jeff, that's super cool. And so, yeah, I totally get it. It's great to see that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Like, you get a few, tons of grapes from certain areas and have two different winemakers with distinct tastes go at it and just make from the exact same grapes and try to see how different it is.
And it's gonna be different.
Yeah,
it's gonna be different. Like you'll get, and it's the cool thing. And I recommend anyone to try this out. You'll see a lot of producers, domestically and internationally. And I'll use Fragonese as an example here. You see on the label, he has a Propo right here. Propo is actually not the name of the wine; it's a vineyard. It's the vineyard it comes from. An interesting rule in Piedmont, especially in the Long, but in Piedmont overall, is it is illegal for any single person to 100% own a vineyard. So that means there has to be at least two people farming from that vineyard.
Wow.
And the interesting thing is, you look at Propo. As a vineyard. Davide Fragonese, a small little producer, works here. But at the same time, who also makes a wine from Propo? Vietti, Paolo Scavina, Morio, just to name a few. And so you look at it, and there's a real opportunity when you dive into Italian wines. Exactly what you guys are talking about is you can go search out, you can Google it for all intents and purposes on a bigger place that has a lot of offerings like wine.com, and go Google Propo and get 3 different producers making it, and I can probably promise you, unless it is your 4th, 5th, and 6th bottle of the night, it is you'll see the different winemakers touch on all of them. So it's pretty cool from our perspective, speaking shamelessly to Piedmont and Italy. But you still see that here too. Like some of the big vineyards up in my area. God, of course now I'm going to draw a blank. Thinking of it, it's a Chardonnay Pinot vineyard in Carneros that so many people love and produce. I'll back up. I'll go to the one that's in my head. Which one?
Not Jam Cellars.
No. It's not Jam Cellars.
You do a Pinot and a Chardonnay.
So a big one. I know Gallo's bought it since, but you have over Napa Stagecoach Vineyard. Stagecoach Vineyard is a famous vineyard in Napa Valley. It's it's a little different what you see over here in terms of what I was talking about, how people have to own. Stagecoach was a single entity, but they had contracts out. So you have a lot of different people buying the fruit and making their own wine. And so that's something you see. And people are prideful of that. You'll look in your grocery store, you'll look on your wine lists, and they'll put the vineyard it comes from. And it's a great opportunity, whether it's California, Washington, Oregon, Italy, France, to try producers from the same vineyard, and it's a fun exercise.
All right, can we back up a little bit? Let's go back to Italy. When you said that one single person could not own a vineyard, what is the reason behind that?
The reason behind that is, and this is very interesting, it's funny how it came about in the Napoleonic laws, but very similar to Burgundy. One thing about the Piedmontese, and that's really the indigenous people of the Piedmont area, the Italians there, is they are some of the most fierce guardians of history and heritage of their peoples in that area. A lot of other areas, and not saying it's bad, it's beautiful. Tuscany is one of them, but they have kind of homogenized to have a singular marketing strategy on a global scale. Piedmont has believed that their history and heritage is more important than selling out, for lack of a better term, and so laws like no single person can monopolize a vineyard is designed so no one can actually market a vineyard, make it famous, and reap the rewards from that property. It is something that the collective comes together to share the heritage and rise it up. It's the concept of a rising tide lifts all boats, and so that's kind of very much the belief in terms of the Piedmontese people and why they have those kind of laws in place.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
it's pretty cool to keep hold on to the history and the
Absolutely.
Instead
of Gallo coming in and just taking over, right?
Well, with that said, that's a whole different avenue in the sense of, and I know there's been a couple left jabs at Gallo tonight. There's a lot of big wine conglomerates out there. Gallo does a great job, especially with its recent strategy of a lot of the brands it's acquired or its import rights, is that they want to be the marketing and dollars arm, but they allow them the freedom in their production and creativity. So they understand that their talent is not necessarily on the production side, but their talent is on the marketing and PR. And they are, and to their credit, they're doing a great job, and they're reviving some tremendous brands domestically and internationally. One of them, if we may stay in Italy, actually in Piedmont, hence that is this episode, is Renato Ratti, which is one that I used to sell at Wine Warehouse that I loved a lot. And they entered an agreement to help that brand out of financial ruin, to bring it back as the importer, and helped market it and bring it up, however, never touched the production side in Italy. And that wine to this day, if you're looking for a quality Barbera, a quality Nebbiolo Longa, check out Renato Ratti. Plus, the labels are really, really cool. They're the old uniforms of the Piedmontese army in the Kingdom of Piedmont. So kind of highlighting the different styles. I mean, we're never going to say warfare is good, but let's face it, the 18th century uniforms were super cool. They were colorful, they were decorative, they were something of pride. So that's pretty cool on Renato Jotti's labels. But that's kind of something that Gallo does, and kudos to them.
I always thought Gallo was buying up all the land and all the vineyards they could. They're just whatever any chance they get, like come with us.
Well, yes, that's
there is that. I mean,
they are balancing a balance sheet, but
but then
they're not like a talent agency.
Put together the Gallo Center for the Arts in Modesto,
we can make a star
beautiful
out of
building,
right? Yeah,
and they give back to the community there. So it's like they're doing good stuff. I mean that little story right there you told me, I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
that's
same.
actually pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool. They're not. Let's face it, they're not going to be Scott Boras. For all your baseball fans. They're more like the guy who represents Shohei Ohtani, who wants to come to San Francisco because of our cultural heritage. And yes, it's done.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. I'll settle for an Alex Bregman trade and the Yamamoto signing.
Okay.
That might work.
We switch topics here.
No. I mean, I'm all for Shohei, but that'll never happen.
Right.
Shohei's no way. So,
exactly.
I've been a Giants fan for 30 years.
Sorry about that.
There have been some good years.
Yeah, there's been some good years.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm the team that's no longer here.
The bad bunch.
My point is home runs are overrated. It's doubles and walks and ERA.
Oh, yeah, ERA is the big thing.
I was telling Paul the other day, I haven't been to the Giants game since Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding,
I
really?
went to the very first
Yeah.
series against Arizona that played there. At that time was Pac-Bell Park.
That was a good 20 years.
Yeah, I remember I went to the second game ever at Pac-Bell Park against the Dodgers, and this leadoff hitter named Devon White hits 2 home runs. I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Like, why are we letting this guy hit home runs? and apparently they're, now we're saying 23 years later you can't hit home runs, where this guy who had, I think, career 70 in like an 18-year career, it's 2
exactly.
in a game. You're like, come on, no, get with the program. Get the wind tunnel going. Set some fans up, blow it out to center field. We'll make it work.
Right.
Cool.
This is a good wine though.
It is.
Like when you first sat down, I told you it looked light.
Yeah,
but
that's the deceptive thing.
Right.
Like, that's the beauty of Nebbiolo. Like,
right.
It's such a deceptive grape. It's light, it's approachable, it's got aromatics, but then that structure, that tannin, that acid is just kind of like it's a full, complete package.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it's opened up a little bit. It's easy to drink. It's not too cloying, but you get that finish. You're like, man, I'll go over to Hotel Mac and get like a T-bone steak, and it's going to be perfect.
Right.
So.
But you won't get any wine over there.
Yeah, I know. That's why you buy it here.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have. We may not have open container laws, but you can walk across the block with a bottle.
Exactly.
Or they got the corkage fee.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
At least you have a good
What do
wine.
you think?
There's no cork in the bottle.
Oh, if it's a twist cap? Yeah,
Twist
well,
cap.
I'm sorry, sir. It's free.
Well,
Is it screw cap free?
Right.
Yeah.
it should
There's no
be.
screw
point.
cap frees.
Right. You can open it yourself.
Because it's all
This
about
is a philosophical can of worms.
It is. The corkage fee is all about the physical strength that the maitre d' has to open that thing.
Is it because they're
That's the
providing a glass?
$25.
This should be like a glass fee
So
instead of a corkage fee.
it's interesting where
Like, what are they providing?
Yeah, they provide the service. That's
Yeah.
pretty much, and everything they say about it's masking the covering their lost costs. So you're not
Yeah,
buying
it
wine
is.
from them,
Right.
so here's their compensation. But you bring up a good point, Paul, where it's like the great thing about wine is that anticipation, where you see them opening and you pull that cork out, and you're ready for the aromatics and this first sip, and what is this going to do with my meal? So at the end of the day, the corkage fee and them open that bottle it's a price for pageantry.
Yeah.
And you know, for the most part, if we're not looking at those restaurants who are like $55 groupage fee, it's like a 20 or 25.
25.
Cool.
That's no big deal.
Whatever. We're happy to support, and you know.
And you still make out like a bandit most of the time.
You make out like a bandit. Yeah. That'll be for episode 52. We'll talk restaurant prices.
Stay tuned.
Right. All right.
Absolutely.
Ready to wrap it up, or?
Yeah, I guess so.
Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
You went to Cinque Terre. How was it?
Cinque Terre was awesome. Now, I didn't get on the hill elevator that take you up to the vineyards.
Okay.
I wanted to. It was so bad, but we had some inclement weather at the time. It was a little bit of raining in that day that we were there, so passed on that portion of it, and we just spent the rest of it. And then after the rain went, we were just spending the time of, taking in all the food, the seafood down in each one of the little towns, Monterosa. It was just phenomenal.
Seafood there is insane, right?
It's incredible.
It's like you watch the boat come in and he throws a crab onto your plate. And you're like,
it wasn't quite like that, but they were. The kids, these guys were like bringing in boats. I mean, and you could see them. They're shoving the boats down the ramp, and they jump in, and they go out, and they row out there, and they got their nets, and they got their fishing poles, and then they'll be back in like an hour, because I was there sitting there watching for an hour, just eating my meal. I had, I'll show you, man.
What is it? You're ordering fishing to go or something like I want to fish, and they're like, all right, I'll be back.
One of my favorite
back in an hour.
experiences was
We got it.
Was on the Isle of Mull in Scotland. The town of Tobermory, near and dear to my heart, but small little fishing village, kind of like that idea. And there were two restaurants in Tobermory. One was the pub, the other was a fish restaurant. And we showed up at the fish restaurant at noon just to say, hey, can we get a reservation for tonight? They said, absolutely no problem. What do you like? Trivial, 6 o'clock. Great, fantastic. We'll see you then. By the way, if we look at your menu, we don't have one. You'll know at 6 o'clock when you come here because the boat shows up at 4, and that's your menu. And that was mind blowing.
It was literally catch of the day.
You literally catch of the day. Yeah.
They have the octopus, the anchovies.
Super fresh.
Oh yeah, the anchovies.
This guy, he went to Sicily. Both of these guys.
Anchovies are going to be horrible and salty. Oh my God, no way.
Incredible, right?
Oh yeah, they're good.
Insane. And they throw them in everything. You get the whole, you get it on your pasta. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, where'd you go in Sicily?
Palermo and Cefalù.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you recommend in Palermo?
Palermo is Palermo. So that was my first time in Italy.
Okay.
So Sicily, I feel like it's like pretty different from the rest of Italy, but Palermo was really cool. The wines, Mount Etna? I think
the east side of the
Right. Yeah. So
wines there,
yeah. So there's a lot of Mount Etna wines. It's more mineral.
Yeah.
A lot of mineral in it. Volcanic rock, volcanic soil, but really good. Food is really good. Seafood is amazing.
Yeah. I'll be in Sicily next April.
Okay. Are you going to be in Palermo or which part?
We're gonna. I'm starting up in Piedmont.
Okay.
And then I'm taking my wife. My wife is an archaeologist, and she actually did a dig on Sicily.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is her first time back since she did that, and we're gonna land in Palermo. And our goal is she wants to go back to some of her original sites, but then we're gonna go spend about 4 days on the east side over by Mount Etna.
Okay.
So yeah, we're there for 8 days, and so we're gonna kind of bounce all over the island.
Yeah.
But I'm super stoked. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
It's really cool.
How's your Italian?
Terrible.
Okay.
I think the one sentence I got is pardone mi Italiano.
No,
Mi Italiano no buono.
You gotta say, you have to.
Il mio Italiano no buono.
No, you have to. What's the phrase that says, "Excuse me, but I'm American," and then they just laugh at you.
You know, what I actually worked in Piedmont is I just started talking to them in French, and they're like, oh, no, we want nothing.
Yeah.
But no, it's one of those things that I do want to pick up. I want to pick up some Italian. I know like 4 phrases, which is more than I did last year. So, it's you pick up a little bit more and more, and being over there for a week is great. Being over there for 2 or 3 is even better, and you kind of just get more and more into it.
Yeah.
Your language, and you pick up the words.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I hope you enjoy it. Like Palermo is really cool.
I'm so excited to go check out the island. And April's like the right time.
Oh yeah.
Because when we were there this year in June, it was stinking hot.
Oh yeah, that was
like
a heat wave.
One of our friends who was with us, she went on to Sicily when it was 100 degrees in Piedmont. She goes to Sicily. We're looking at her phone with a weather report of 110.
Holy crap.
And apparently she had a great time. But
yeah.
April is from all the Italians I know say like that's the golden month to go.
Right.
So we're looking forward to it, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be nice. I was there in September, and it was still hot.
Yeah.
It was burning up.
Yeah.
We were just in October. It was in Tuscany, 85 degrees.
10
It
a.m.
was hot. It was
7 a.m.
You know,
It was very hot.
The Mediterranean weather is no joke.
Oh no, I had no idea.
I mean, there were times where it was a little, it was cooler. You know, like when I went down to La Spiessa and then into Cicatella, we had rain one day.
Right.
You know, but that goes with the territory. But
And
then
now it's snowing. So like Piedmont, Tuscany, they're getting snow. The whole area, like what's the area for Lombardy and Venice, all those areas up against the Alps, they're all snowed in.
up against the Alps.
And we're complaining about 51 degrees.
Right. Yeah, I know.
I drove down through the Alps back in 1983, and it was snowing all the way down the hill. You know, and this was what day? This was, I want to say August. No, September. Couldn't be.
Sounds more like you've been there like November.
No,
Let's take it back.
was September, but I mean going up over the Alps,
Oh yeah, you get some
there's
stuff up
snow
the
up there
peak.
no
Yeah,
matter what, you know, up at the top.
Yeah.
But when you get down to the lower, you know, nothing in Italy, but on the little towns on the way down,
It's funny.
Bistecca Florentina.
Look at that mustache too.
Yeah.
That guy screams Italian.
Oh, totally. Age 40 days. It was the most amazing.
Oh my God. Pre-cut too?
Oh yeah, they bring it to you
Look at that customer
pre-cut.
service.
Yeah, I
That
know,
looks
right?
amazing.
You know, here you get a steak knife that's dull.
Right.
I mean, I could have cut it, but I mean, they chopped it up for you, man. I was like,
Yeah. I guess if you're doing Palermo, they're known for street food. So it's a big street food scene.
We're gonna probably also pop in and spend a day in Syracuse on the
Okay,
other side
yeah.
too.
New York?
No.
No, they're not gonna be orange.
It's like Piedmont, Oakland,
Right.
Syracuse, New York.
You wonder where America got its names, right?
I know.
Exactly, right?
But yeah, no, we're gonna go to Syracuse, Palermo, and there were a handful of other things. You think I talk fast? My wife talks faster, and I don't understand a word. She's like, like just put it on the itinerary. We'll go there. I'll drive there. It's all good.
Tell me when to stop.
Tell me when to stop. Hit the C.
That's true.
20 minutes back.
Turn around, hit a dead end.
But no, I'm super stoked, excited. It should be fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun to get. That's the first island, and then my next one, hopefully in 2025, is I want to get out to Sardinia.
Oh yeah.
So that would be super. Maybe make it an Italian-French connection. Do Sardinia and Corsica, kind of take the island.
I'm gonna catch one more little bit of this because it was
It
splendid.
was really good.
All right, guys.
Cool. So my last shameless plug.
All right.
Check this out.
Cheers.
Organize that. Cheers, guys.
36 to the end.
That was perfect.
Till 2042?
And if you like this on
Right.
YouTube, click the like button, subscribe to us.
Subscribe
All right,
below.
Michael,
I don't think we have those.
We're on our way to 10 followers. And
So I'll give you a story too.
We're on our way to Italy.
yeah, let's go. Come with us.
I had this great thought too of
We're
saying,
Warriors game.
We're giving 40% off on our wines because we're going out of business. And you go, oh no, you're going out of business. And my backstory on this is when I went to college up in Sonoma State my freshman year, I needed to buy an end table, and I found this place a few blocks away from the campus that literally said, had a big sign that said going out of business furniture. I was like, awesome. So I went in there and bought a table. 5 years later, I was still buying furniture, and it turns out their gimmick was they literally just called themselves going out of business to get sales.
What?
So you can do that when you want.
It worked.
Yeah.
I furnished the entire house going out of business.
Priceless.
It was bargain prices. It was amazing. Now they did go out of business in 2019, but you know, that's another story.
Yeah. That's funny.
Awesome.
That's a good strategy.
You love the gimmicks, right?
Right.
Yeah, the things that work are sometimes like you're like, why didn't I think of that?
Right. It's all marketing.
They probably were going out of business and probably it sparked it.
They're probably going out of business, and then, you know, when you have, you know, 500% your normal sales, you're like, yes, let's try one more year.
Right.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
See you out there in YouTube land.
Ciao.
Ciao.
You keep waving.
Yeah, we're still. Well, I mean, it depends on how.